Thank you, Julien. Thank you, everyone. So now we'll have a remote panel, which is a kind of a technical challenge. We will see if it works. And we will welcome our colleagues from the UK, from Vinci Construction, Taylor Woodrow, who will explain and share their experience on the infrastructure of transport energy. And I leave the floor to Jez Haskins, who will be moderating this panel. Jez, can you hear us? And so I will also ask our team to switch the channel, and hopefully we will be connected with the UK. Can you guys hear us, Jez?
I can hear you all, yeah, loud and clear. I'm not sure if you can see my slides yet.
So we will raise the sound. We start hearing you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just trying to present my slides. I'm not sure if there's something I need to press to get these slides going. Just 1 second, please. Okay, well, look, I'll
and if you can start by a round table presenting yourself, because we will not see your slides presenting you, so it will be very helpful if we know who is who. So don't hesitate to introduce yourselves.
I'll start the. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jez Haskins, and I'm the Strategy Director for Taylor Woodrow. And I'm very pleased to be with you here today at the summit to talk to you about the National Grid electricity transmission network in the UK. And I'm joined here today by 3 colleagues. I have Craig Prangley, Taylor Woodrow's Operations Director, Simon Milligan, our Project Director on one of our programs of work for National Grid, and Anthony Oxford, our Head of Digital and Innovation, to talk to you about what he's doing on another one of our programs for National Grid. So, by way of introduction, just to do a scene setter. So, National Grid Transmission owns and operates the high voltage 275 and 400 kV electricity transmission networks in England and Wales. The Scottish transmission network is separately owned and operated by Scottish and Southern Electricity Networks and Scottish Power Energy Networks. The transmission system is a critical enabler for the UK's net zero target, facilitating the connection and balancing of distributed low carbon power with demand centres across the UK. The key drivers which underpin the commitment to transition to net zero start with the UK's Climate Change Act 2008. This is a legally binding requirement. The UK system must transition from fossil fuel to renewable electricity and low carbon technologies by 2050. Upgrade of the transmission grid is essential if we are to meet the growing demand as we electrify transportation, industry, and eventually domestic heating. To meet the growth, which is often referred to as requiring 7 times more investment in the next 6 years than has been delivered in the past 30 years, National Grid have 3 key delivery vehicles, which we are actively now engaged with. The RIIO 2 and RIIO 3 frameworks, this stands for Revenue, Incentives, Innovation and Outputs. These are the pricing control periods for investment in the network. We are a partner on the RIIO T2 framework, which runs from 2021 to 2026. RIIO 3 will begin in 2026 with a focus on the accelerating delivery to meet net zero. RIIO T3 has been referred to as being 3 times larger than T2 in its investment terms. The Great Grid Upgrade Programme, as the title suggests, is the largest new build programme of the network since the 1950s. The programme reflects the need to move from centralised fossil fuel generation to one of decentralised and variable power sources, as well as increasing capacity of the network for future growth. We are one of 5 suppliers appointed to the programme of works for a minimum of 8 years. The HVDC framework is another framework we're on, which sees us as Taylor Woodrow only delivering the civil engineering works for rebuilding of the new HVDC interconnector substations, connecting new sources of offshore wind power into our grid and onto the rest of Europe. You will hear in a minute from Craig, Simon and Anthony about the work we are currently doing on these frameworks. But if I could conclude with some numbers to highlight the level of investment we are looking at, which are obviously significant. In the near term, the spend on RIIO-2, ending in 2026, is expected to be 7.8 billion. For RIIO-T3, the investment is forecast to rise to 16 to 20 billion pounds, and between 2026 and 31, for the Great Grid Partnership, our allocated works are circa 1.2 billion, and that's work to us. Whilst for the HVDC framework to build the 17 projects, National Grid are planning a further 9.1 billion pounds expenditure on the substations alone. Total system-wide investment across UK transmission, including Scotland, is said could reach 60 billion pounds by 2040 to meet the total UK's net zero ambitions. You'll now hear briefly from my colleagues what they are delivering on each of these programmes. So I'll hand over to Craig. Let me see if this is.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry to interrupt. Can you share your screen with the presentation so it will help us follow?
Yeah, I thought it was. Just. Oh.
So there's a challenge to have a remote panel.
Hello, can you hear me still?
We do hear you very well, but it's easier to follow if we can have one of the windows with the
Sure,
with the slides.
Yeah, I thought it was presenting. Just 1 second. Sorry. Is that worked? Obviously not.
Yes, perfect.
You can see that now?
Yes, perfect. It will be a lot easier. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll take the next slide, Jim.
I don't think it's still hear me. Is that muted?
You can put full screen if you wish.
Try the full screen.
But bottom right.
Apologies. Has that worked?
That's the presenter mode. Come back.
All right. Apologies.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. Go on. Sorry for that.
Apologies, yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. The National Taylor Woodrow joint venture were awarded a place on National Grid electricity construction framework in 2021. The framework covers the design, engineering, manufacture, supply and construction of overhead lines, undergrounding of assets, and the construction of substations. The total value of the works expected to be undertaken is approximately 1.5 billion. To date, our joint venture has awarded 3 substation projects at Carlisle, Hilton Castle, and Marston Vale, with a total value of 300 million. The framework provides incentives to innovate performance, was clearly defining the outputs which to deliver and encouraging to develop and implement new solutions to facilitate an efficient and sustainable energy network. In order to improve the delivery of the next development of the framework, we recently submitted a proposal to transition to a regional partner with National Grid, which will require us to deliver approximately £500 million of work in the region of the country. This will allow us to build our teams and skills in a defined area and work with the communities to secure employment opportunities for local people and businesses. We find out if we're successful at the end of this week. Next slide, Joseph. The Great Grid upgrade creates a partnership between us, supply chain partners, and National Grid in an enterprise model to deliver that over the grid. This approach aims to deliver integrated planning and work in between projects, enabling the supply chain to provide capacity, capability, knowledge, and experience to accelerate delivery and achieve cost efficiency. In turn, delivering manufacturing consumers and working with our local communities to lead positive legacy. The partnership will also create new capacity in the supply chain as a result of the longer-term commitments to the project model. Great Grid Upgrade has just had its first birthday, and the level of activity is increasing across the portfolio. With our joint venture expected to commence from 2 overhead line refurbishments, a new substation in Suffolk, and the key overhead line upgrade for Tilbury. Whilst the partnership model is still relatively new to the UK, the initial feedback is positive, with the partners embracing the values of maximising positive outcomes for the UK energy network.
Yeah, afternoon, everybody. My name's Simon Milligan. I'm the Framework Director for the recently awarded National Grid HVDC framework. So, as you've heard, our common client is National Grid. They have set up a number of frameworks to fulfil the needs of an increasing demand for electricity. The unprecedented global demand for HTC networks is worldwide and not just in the UK. Much of this demand is driven by green energy, and the DC current it is produced also through the network HVDC networks greater flexibility. Much of the UK electricity infrastructure runs through the aging AC network, which as we've heard, we were also involved with upgrading a number of their schemes. National Grid need to invest in 5 times more infrastructure projects in the next 8 years than they have done in the past 30 years. My background lies in large civil engineering projects, so I don't profess to be an expert in all things electrical, but the converter stations provide
We don't hear you anymore. Can you still hear us?
the work up. We are on lot 1 major works and civils worth 9.1 billion. So there's 3 streams of work: cable supply and offshore installation, and blue box on the left, converter systems with the specialist original equipment manufacturers, and the major works civils on the right, which we are doing lot 1 converters, 9.1 million pounds worth of work. So the next slide is just a little bit more of the detail about the HVDC connector route. So the HVDC network, for it to connect the green energy sources, which is solar, wind and battery power, the AC networks at location. The network connects England, but it also connects on the left, shows the interconnector routes that are currently being identified between Belgium, Norway and Denmark. One of the advantages of the HVDC network is that it's bi-directional. When the UK has a surplus of power, we can share it with the continent, Europe, and vice versa when they have a surplus of power. You will see on the links on the map, the links to Europe and also the routes within the UK. The majority of these routes actually go underground. They're either underground on the land UK, but also in subsea. Some of the routes have intermediate connector stations, which are platforms out in the sea, which allow the offshore wind farms to be connected into the connector stations and the connector network as well. So what next for us? So we need to fully understand the scope, understand the finer details of the client's requirements, build a team, identify the opportunities and the risks, and secure our first site, which we can take to construction stage.
Thank you, Simon. And Hi, everyone. So digital and IM is seen as a vital enabler for delivery of GGP in a key investment area. We started by taking the GGP vision and key challenges. There's a huge amount of work to deliver over the coming years. So those challenges are around speed and scale. We asked ourselves what our digital response and vision and objectives would be, together with the outcomes GGP are looking for, and this approach has been discussed and agreed with GGP leadership. On the right is the GGP operating model, which follows the Project 13 model, which is a UK construction industry initiative. And it's based on an enterprise partnership model, not on traditional transactional arrangements. And that model has been developed to boost certainty, productivity, collaboration, and innovation, and ultimately improve whole life outcomes. One of the 5 Project 13 pillars is digital transformation, which promotes an integrated digital approach to delivery and asset management. And that gives us a great foundation to drive digital. Another pillar is integration. And so the integrator brings together capabilities from the client and all partner organizations to implement consistent production and a platform approach to delivery. Within the integrator, we've established a digital function, which consists of our strategy and plans and our core team, some of whom are seconded in to the integrator from the partners. Next slide, Jez. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of important elements. First is the IM framework, which is a suite of mandated project requirements, standards, processes, and templates, all co-created between the client and partners. This is about to be rolled out and will be training for the project teams. And this is a key area where the wider digital team will provide delivery support going forward, ensuring all those things are followed, which ultimately means we deliver the right outputs to the client. Secondly, the digital roadmaps, which map out the information requirements, systems, and processes for 10 key functions, such as design and engineering, health and safety, environment, commercial, logistics, etc. Again, these have been developed between the digital team and each function to understand and align these elements. There are a lot of different approaches across the 10 organizations involved, and given that the partners are incentivized to be as efficient as possible, then we all need to do our utmost to achieve that.
No.
On a monthly basis, we're using RAC status to measure risks, opportunities, recommendations, and looking at whether initiatives or business cases are needed and supporting implementation in the longer term. So just to summarize, the whole digital approach in GGP is a game changer for national supply chain, and it brings a lot of opportunities to move with the times and expand with the technology, mainly opportunities for businesses and people, which is really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. And I think in the time available, we'd just like to have a short discussion with the team here. If we may, just pose a couple of questions. So starting with Craig, you talked about in your introduction the scale of what we are doing. Can you tell the audience how the joint venture with Vinci Energies came about, please?
Yeah, no problem. I think the National Grid investment had been a variety of smaller projects on a much smaller scale. I think we realised quite early on the scale of investment, the size of the projects and the complexity were significantly different to what had been the previous model of delivery in the UK. Obviously, we try and work wherever we can with other Vinci Group companies. So we created a joint venture with a range of skills, capability and experience, predominantly in Exxon with their electrical practice relationships with National Grid, Taylor Woodrow with our project management and civil engineering expertise, as well as large-scale delivery capability, and the joint venture specifically to deliver work on the National Grid portfolio. I think we were seen as a bit of a differentiator in the market with our competitors, as we were one of the only organisations able to do the full asset base of work across the various frameworks, which does stand out from our competition competitors.
Thank you. And Simon, you're new to the delivery of large-scale electrical transmission infrastructure, but you obviously have a lot of experience in delivery of other major infrastructure projects. We're delivering the HVDC civils as Taylor Woodrow only. So what are you seeing as the primary challenges, the technical challenges we'll face in delivery of this large programme of works?
Yeah, thanks, Jez.
Yeah, I've worked on many projects over the years, in particular nuclear rail, and two very large energy from waste plants, and a number of large infrastructure projects. I think the similarities is that they all have multiple stakeholders along with complex designs which all need to be carefully managed. So I think I've got a lot of transferable experience for the DC network. Typically, JVs share complementary expertise and resources, so we can identify any gaps in our supply chain that would normally be filled by another JV partner. And I'm sure many of our listeners will have had experience of good JV arrangements and not so good JV arrangements. I'm looking forward to progressing on this framework as Taylor Woodrow on our own. So coming back to specialist resources, we expect that OEM supplies of the equipment will plug some of the gaps, but we will understand this over time. We need to fully understand the implications of working with the national grid, which is a highly regulated industry, and also their stakeholders Ofgem, who also have strict rules and procedures. On top of that, we need to understand and get embedded into the UK's town and country planning regulations, and of course environmental legislation and permitting. The technology is fairly new, and there are limited specialist suppliers with the likes of Hitachi, Siemens and GE. And this increased procurement with a small number of supply chain may lead to some challenging timescales, which we will work with and develop with them. So I think finally, location, remote logistics, remote locations, logistics for people, in some instances working alongside other large infrastructure projects can be challenging, certainly along the lines of size.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Simon. So coming to you, Anthony, on the Great Grid Programme, how are you establishing the digital and information management function on this multi-billion-pound programme of works?
Yeah, so this goes back to the integrator function that I talked about earlier. We reviewed National Grid's digital strategy, which is pretty comprehensive, and we also reviewed partner strategies. And we looked at alignment and adopted best elements of those strategies. We also looked at the capabilities and role we needed within the core team and arranged secondments. And that's established now, so the focus has turned to resourcing the extended project level team of information management and GIS roles to support delivery. And we'll need numerous roles across the project. We've also established a communications plan and formed our governance approach as well, which includes a steering group in connection to National Grid, who we're working really closely with as well.
Great, thanks very much, Anthony. So, Craig, coming back to you, we hear a great deal about skills shortages in the UK. What are you seeing day to day, and how are we going to tackle this challenge?
Yeah, I think undoubtedly the skill shortages obviously being a minor illusion. There's only a finite number of people to pull from. We've been through a skill shortage when we started to deliver high-speed railway. So from the engineering aspect, we were able to build a significant workforce which has been in training for the last sort of 2 to 3 years. We're now experiencing the same level of...
Jez, I'm sorry, we don't really understand the sound. We have a sound problem. We will go for a conclusion if you can, Jez. Thank you for the sharing with the questions here.
I mean, we'll just wrap up. Perhaps if I just ask each of the team here how they're feeling about the programme of works and what we've got in front of us. So, Craig?
It's certainly an exciting time, and being part of the energy transition also helps us develop for our future legacy as well.
Great. And Simon?
Yeah, I'd certainly echo that from Craig, that it's definitely exciting. It's going to be challenging. We've got a lot of hard work ahead of us, certainly for the next 8 to 10 years, and hopefully we can build on the experiences that we've had to date and move forward with some more work with this client.
Great, thank you. And Anthony, finally.
I suppose similar to what I said earlier on, just the fact that it's such a huge programme and the opportunity to really push the boundaries with digital. But ultimately, it's the opportunities for people that I think is the most exciting part for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for allowing us to present to you today about the program and the challenges, which is for the grid transition in the UK. And I wish you a happy and enjoyable rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Let's applaud them.
Thank you.